From becoming the best player in the world after losing out on the 2023 MVP, to winning the NBA for the first time in his career, here's how Nikola Jokic silenced his haters. It all started with Kendrick Perkins and the arguments around the MVP award in 23, which Jokic doesn't care about, as we all know by now, but he'd been disrespected. If you don't remember what happened, or if you simply don't listen to Perkins, allow me to fill you in. KP has some very poor takes, but few were worse than blaming the NBA for being racists, because he thought that Joel Embiid's skin color was the only reason he didn't win MVP. I'd say that JJ Redick won that argument, but it's sweeter to see that Jokic wanted to put things right himself, so he responded in the best way possible. He won the next 2 MVPs that very year, and he won the biggest prize of them all too, but more on that later. In a way, the Heat fans, the Laker fans, along with the Timberwolves and the Suns supporters can all blame Perkins for making Jokic mad. Again, if you look back at the games, you wouldn't think there's anything wrong, and there isn't. I wouldn't be surprised if the Joker even cared about what Perkins said, but he was fueled by something. That's the only way I could describe his performance in the 23 postseason, because I've seen some brilliant displays, some outrageous runs in the playoffs, but never anything remotely close to what Jokic did that season. His 23 playoff run is up there with the greatest individual campaigns of all time. And to think that it came right after Jokic averaged nearly a triple-double in the regular season. That's nuts, folks. He missed out on the triple-double because he had 9.8 assists instead of 10. That's the only difference, and somehow the jury decided that Embiid was a more deserving winner of the MVP. Luckily for us and for Denver, Jokic has never cared about these awards, so he didn't feel hard done by it at all. Instead, he put his energy into something better, coming up with even better performances in the playoffs, making sure that everyone ends up eating their words. A penny for Perkins' thoughts after the 2023 season, huh? Because Jokic became the first player in the history of NBA playoffs to average more points, more rebounds, and more assists than any other player in a single season. Yep, he led the league in all 3 categories throughout the playoff run, something that has never been done before. Unsurprisingly, he took home the Western Conference Finals MVP and the Finals MVP award. Both were well-deserved, but he doesn't care. Jokic claimed he'd already lost his Finals MVP trophy, and I'm sure the NBA officials aren't too happy with how casually he's taking that honor. It'll be even funnier when he drops more of those performances, and they've got no choice but to make him the MVP while listening to him downplaying the award. The fumes. But another set of Nikola haters believe that the man does nothing of substance, and he's all numbers, numbers, numbers. Stat patter, in other words, basically. So how did Jokic respond to that? Well, he padded some more stats, like most points, assists and rebounds in a single playoff campaign, like most triple-doubles recorded in one playoff run, and many, many more. Only difference was he had something to show for it. Before the 2022-23 campaign, Jokic wasn't valued much by the fans because they believed he only could do these things in regular season games. And when the lights turn the brightest, Jokic ends up fading. Again, that's not really true, is it? And it was confirmed after his monster performances throughout 2023. Yes, his numbers are unreal and unbelievable at times, because how is a center doing all that? But what's even more absurd is he's done that on the biggest stage, unfazed, unbothered, and he wanted to go home right after the championship was confirmed. How can you hate him? But while Jokic was busy stat padding, he was also producing moments worth a rewatch. And it may have been unorthodox, but nothing about Jokic is normal. You just learn to live with it. After all, this man passed the eye test in his own way. It wasn't aesthetic, I agree, but why does it need to be aesthetic if it's effective? Who cares if Jokic looks like a freaking seal playing with balloons? He makes those difficult shots with one hand, no feet off the ground. He made them over some of the best defensive players, like Anthony Davis, and LeBron James had no idea how to counter those shots. They were left with their arms outstretched as Jokic stumbled to a halt. While his shot was good, when he wasn't connecting on big-time shots, the Joker was dishing out passes like a prime John Stockton or Chris Paul. It looked more like Jokic saying, "How may I assist you?" to his teammates, because he really had the opposition on string. He's having a bad day shooting wise. You've crowded the paint with bodies. No worries. Jokic will produce a 13-assist performance and someone else will do the job. In other words, Jokic is inevitable, a lot like Thanos in the Avengers. But his mission isn't to collect those magic stones. His aim is to collect the tears of rival fans and haters while making a mockery out of their favorite team. Yet, if I'm being honest, it wouldn't be wrong to say that Jokic doesn't even care that he won the NBA. He's just so nonchalant about the sport, which is why a lot of people hate him for his easygoing attitude. Is it true that Nikola looks like someone who was on his way to a barbecue but got stuck at a ball game and he's had to play with his pants? He's not the committed basketball athlete that the NBA wants everyone to look up to, but does Jokic care about that? Not at all. That's why he does what he likes, and it doesn't matter if someone disapproves of it, he'll just get them more angry by winning more and more. It's a vicious cycle, with Jokic being in a win-win position. It's madness. Every league and tournament has some traditions or some rules that you must follow. Like at Wimbledon, you have to wear white, and in the NBA, you've got to show more enthusiasm about winning individual awards. The NBA gives a lot of weightage to such awards, but Jokic has never cared about it. He won 2 MVPs back-to-back, and he had an ironclad case for a third, but it wasn't meant to be, and Jokic didn't even comment on it. As you'd expect, this made certain officials very angry because they don't like how Nikola's destroying the league and then acting like it's not even his biggest achievement. What's even more hilarious is how there was so much talk over Jokic and the ring. Everyone thought he'd never win one, and that's what kept him out of the top 10 lists for the greatest centers of all time, along with other such honors. Well, that's not the case anymore. Not only did Jokic win his first ring in 23, but he also won something that very few players can say they've won, and that's Shaq's respect. It's even harder to come by for other bigs in the NBA, because Shaq likes to compare them to himself, and well, not many can say they've got a better legacy than the Diesel. Jokic in 2023 had his eyes set on the biggest prize, and winning that silenced even his biggest doubters. I don't need to tell you that it still won't be enough. LeBron won 4, and people still tell him that one more should seal his legacy as the GOAT. They're never satisfied, but Jokic doesn't care, so it won't affect his performances. He just needed the first championship so that he could prove to the world that winning the chip ain't hard. And now that the first one's done, the rest should follow. Before he won it, everyone, from fans to media analysts, they all believed the Nuggets won't even make it to the conference finals. They had doubts over Jokic's big game ability and thought he wouldn't play well against teams like the Phoenix Suns or the Los Angeles Lakers. Well, Jokic swept LeBron's Lakers. He got the king thinking about retirement. Do you know how crazy that is? The Serb also slapped Kevin Durant and his Phoenix super team in the conference semifinals, and then comfortably took apart Jimmy Butler and his Miami in the finals. To become an all-time great, you need to have your hands on at least one championship. Jokic has that, and he's certified his position as one of the greatest players of all time. As far as the centers debate is concerned, it wouldn't be a surprise if he's received a bump and is hovering in the top 5. What a way to shut your critics up. So, from winning the NBA for the first time in his career to becoming the best player in the world after losing out on the 2023 MVP. This was how Nikola Jokic silenced his haters.